Hi there guys. I've had a very big response to my Vive versus Oculus video. It's been viewed over 15,000 times, which is pretty good for some of my videos. I've had loads of feedback from other YouTubers and people who have used my video to make their buying choice. I just thought I'd do a cut down version of it because I think it goes on for about 2 hours. So I'm going to edit it down to its minimum I can get away with. So here is a shorter version, and also at the very end, I've had these things for about 5 months. I've done an updated conclusion with some new revelations there. Anyway, watch on. Cheers. Okay, let's talk about the boxes they arrived in and how usable they ended up being. Now, I'm just going to reminisce a bit here. Now, my DK1, you might remember this box, came in this beautiful box. Look, here's my DK1 box. I've still got my DK1. I love it. I'll never sell it. It was beautiful. And then the DK2 case came, and it was a bit disappointing, to be honest. I mean, look at that. What a disappointment. Little cardboard box with a strap on top. Rubbish. And the CV1 box, very nice indeed. This is the HTC Vive box. It's massive! Installing these is a reasonably simple affair, just a case of sort of screwing it into something solid. I've screwed it into the top of this board thing here and angling it down. You have to put them at diagonals in the room. Now to turn them on. I'm okay. So if for some reason you don't get a green light on your tracker and it's not seeing the other tracker on the other side of the room, that might be because it's greater than 5 meters away, which would be pretty unusual unless you've got a massive house. In which case you have to plug a sync cable, which plugs into the back of here, runs over the top of the roof or around the carpet or whatever, and plugs into the other side, and that will make sure that they stay in sync. So you see underneath the desk here, I've got this little controller unit, and you basically plug the HTC Vive into one side, and out the other side you plug the similar cables out into power and into the PC behind. The Oculus Rift here has a long cable with 3 on the end, and just go underneath here, comes to this point here, splits into basically an HDMI and a USB, and there's a third USB which is basically powering the tracking camera, which sits up here. Now you'll notice this is a fine quality item. It's been very well designed, and the first thing you feel when you pick it up is that it's solid, it feels nice to the touch, and it is light. I mean, it is surprisingly light. People I've handed this to just immediately go, wow, is that it? I like the fact that when you put it on, you can angle it up and down like that to get the right position. You can adjust the IPD with an IPD slider at the bottom. Now, it's worth noting here that the headphones are excellent quality. The microphone on the Oculus, I will be testing as well later along with the audio, is actually not too bad. It's not really something I will be using for my videos too often, but it's actually quite loud and quite capable. The strap here, we have a nice solid back which wraps around the back of your head. Now if you haven't got a default size head, you might not find this so comfortable. My head's a bit bulbous, and so it does sort of feel a bit tight on the back there. You can adjust the straps on the sides and on the top, same with the Vive. The only difference is that the Rift actually feels a bit flimsy. I mean, look at that. I mean, I jokingly said the other day that it feels like 2 bits of sellotape back to back, other tape available. And I'm not joking, it really does feel very thin and flimsy. I don't like, for instance, although as aesthetically pleasing as it is, the way this material wraps around the front means that when you put it down, it's always sitting on that material. It will wear and it will break. I can absolutely guarantee this. It picks up dirt like crazy, this thing. I mean, literally like crazy. If I just rub my back of my hand across it, I'll see like skin cells adhering to it immediately. And I don't have leprosy, just in case you're worried. The foam on this is quite thin, but it doesn't really need to be very thick. It doesn't steam up inside, and it feels comfortable on your face and doesn't leave any red marks, really, to my knowledge. It doesn't have much of a smell, but there is a kind of new HMD smell, which some people were complaining about as giving them headaches. Well, it hasn't bothered me yet. And let's compare it to the HTC Vive. Now, immediately when you pick up the Vive, it's heavy. Oh my goodness me, it's heavy. It has a very thick padding here, which it needs because it is quite heavy on the bridge of your nose and your face, but because you have to wear it quite tight, you end up getting quite a hideous red mark around your face. I mean, not, this is only something vain people need worry about. If you're rushing off to a photo shoot, then this might bother you. No issues with any fogging on either the Rift or the Vive, which is actually very good. And I've been jumping around like a madman in this, I can tell you, playing hover junkers, having a great deal of fun. Because it's heavy, it just feels more solid. It feels like it's going to take a battering. It's just extremely well put together, and it just feels like I can run into a wall with it without it shattering. This strap on top, it's a lot more solid, and you don't feel so concerned about it wearing out. This also has an IPD changer on the side, little swivel thing, which alters the lens distance there. Buds. Apparently these are HTC studio quality in-ear buds. Now both of them have microphones as well. I've had limited success with this, but I've just read some stuff on the internet about how to make the mic in the Vive a little bit better. The only big letdown and criticism is dead pixels. Now again, your experience might be different, but I have a dead pixel right in the center of my left eye, which is very annoying indeed. What's more annoying is my response from HTC, which so far is this. Yeah, nothing. This is simply comfort, so ease of putting on, reasonably simple to put this on, and not so bad to tighten up. It always feels like there's a bit of pressure on your head with this bunch of cables, and that and the heaviness of this wire, which is considerably heavier wire than the Oculus, actually does pull a bit on the back, and it's a bit more noticeable as a cable. The quality of the feel on the face once it's on, it feels good. A little bit of pressure on the cheeks because of the weight of the front actually pulling down a little bit more. But generally speaking, the padding around it makes it feel actually quite comfortable, sits on my face very nicely. And you soon forget about the weight, I'll be absolutely frank with you. I've got zero light leakage around the edges or through the nose, thanks to a little piece of rubber that comes on the Vive, which blocks out the light. Okay, let's try the comfort on the Rift. Again, immediately when you pick it up, it feels very light. Quite easy to put on, as it has this kind of elasticated ability to pull forward and tip up. When it's on, I have to say, it's a bit of a strange one. Because it's so light, it's not half as intrusive and uncomfortable feeling on the face. But this foam padding being quite slim, it's not very comfortable, I'd say, on the face, as light as it is. So you do have to fiddle around with it and adjust the straps and adjust the top to get it absolutely perfect. Once it's in place, it just sort of sits there really nicely, and yeah, not too bad. I think the foam could do with being a bit thicker. I certainly would recommend getting something like a VR cover to improve on that. I think with the VR cover, this is probably a very comfortable device. There is a little bit of light leaking. We can see light leaking through my nose down here, quite a lot actually. In fact, the more I look at it, the more I realise even I've got quite a big nose. If I had a smaller nose, that light leak area is quite massive. The sweet spot problem isn't really there. You don't have to adjust it left and right to find the sweet spot. In fact, if I make it hideously out of position, it still looks pretty much in focus in the centre, thanks to these, I guess, these excellent lenses. Now, the field of vision, if I'm sitting in this cabin, now if I look with my eyes to the left, I can see the edge of that panel over there. So I'm looking dead forward, I can see the edge of that panel over there. If I look now at the centre of that radar, I can see just to the centre of where it says mass locked over there, mass locked and landing gear, I can see to the centre of that. So that's my field of vision with the shape of my face. Your mileage may vary, of course. I can see the pixels, and unfortunately with this HTC Vive I can see the dead pixel, which is a bit annoying. It feels, in comparison to the Rift, there's a little bit of latency on the pixels. There's a little bit of they seem a bit slower to respond, so you get this slight blurring. The focus to infinity seems slightly less than infinite. That star field out there, I always gazed at that star field thinking, my goodness me, I'm gazing into space. Now I just think I'm gazing at a skybox that's not quite beyond my focus range, but the scale does seem a little bit smaller in the Vive. But it's a nice bright display, beautiful colours, lovely contrast, and doesn't hurt my eyes in any way. One absolutely fantastic feature of the, I say feature, lack of a problem that I have with the Vive is the God rays. God rays in the Vive seems to be not there, which is brilliant. Okay, let's look at the image quality of the Oculus Rift. Just like the Vive, not so much a problem finding the sweet spot, and it's clear throughout my whole vision. Now let's do the field of view test. If I look to my left, I can see the outer edge of that little star system writing over there. And now if I look to the right, I can see pretty much up to mass. So I've lost a little bit on the edge. But weirdly, the vertical FOV feels better, I'd say. All in all, and this is the peculiar thing, the field of vision in the Rift feels better, even though that test seems to indicate otherwise. Scale in the Rift feels bigger. My body looks bigger when I wear this in the Rift. The ship looks huge and intimidating. It looks pretty much how I imagine the ship to be. The skybox on the outside showing the universe looks infinite. It looks beyond a focusable distance, and that planet looks big. And for that reason, I've got to say, I love the Rift. For this type of experience, the Rift just has that scale, has that sense of presence, which the Vive very slightly doesn't. And I am nitpicking here, the Vive is excellent, but I do feel that the scale is ever so slightly off. Screen door effect on the Rift, I think it's very similar. It doesn't have the same sort of pixel latency issues. There's no smearing as I look around, and we certainly don't have that horrible black smearing that we used to have with the DK2. It's a lot clearer, crisper, and more detailed image within the Rift compared to the Vive. I'd say considerably better. The God rays on the Rift are terrible. They're so bad, I actually seriously considered returning it. I know that sounds crazy. I was so disappointed with the God ray effect that I seriously considered returning it. I've got over it now, and I've stopped worrying about it. It's one of those things, and I said it in one of my videos recently, it's the first thing you notice and the last thing you care about. Not good. And so, if I look down here, I see streaking J.J. Abrams type lens flaring from everything that's bright, so that blue smears across the screen, that orange smears that way, the blue dots there smear across. It is very distracting, and frankly lets it down. And weirdly, even though this lens flaring is present, the sharpness of the image is fantastic. The lack of kind of latency in what I'm looking at is just so fantastic. And because of the good points with the Rift, you ignore those bad points. Whereas with the Vive, there's just a general feeling it's a slightly less good device. I've got to say, I'm very, very impressed with these earbuds. I'm getting decent amount of clarity on the trebles. I'm getting really superb bass for earbuds, unlike any other earbuds I've used before. I read somewhere these are $80 headphones, and I most certainly will be using them with my Vive. The short cable means it doesn't get in the way, it plugs in and it works extremely well. Now the mic quality, you make up your mind. You're hearing it now. I can't hear what it sounds like. I've done some tests before, I wasn't hugely impressed, but I've just disabled automatic gain control, which apparently does improve things massively. I'm in a game as well. Apparently when you're in a game, the mic quality drops, so you can be the judge of that. Let's pop these headsets on. Now, first of all, these over-ear headphones are actually very, very good. They're not as good as like a closed cup system, and I'd say they're definitely not as good as those earbuds you get for the Vive. But earbuds are not for everybody, right? So I appreciate that most people probably don't like earbuds. Now, you might notice the sound of my voice has changed a bit. I'm recording using the Oculus microphone this time. Now, my experience of the Oculus microphone is that it is slightly better. I don't get the popping noise, I don't get the weird kind of muffledness that you get with the Vive. It's not a top quality microphone, but it's certainly usable. Probably something I won't be using for my YouTubing, but still not a bad quality microphone. Generally speaking, I'm very happy with the audio that comes in on the Rift. I think the Vive headphones are slightly better and actually function very well for room scale, but I actually do like these comfortable, nice bassy, good all-round headphones that come with these, that you have the option of removing, of course. Very important point. Let's have a look. So I can lean forwards, I can lean backwards, I can look all the way around. There's no real problems with tracking in a chair scale environment using the Vive. I've just had a good look at the co-pilot seat now, and again it's tracking me perfectly. I've still got the frame rate issues with this game, but that's nothing to do with tracking, of course. But it's just a peculiar sensation to get up and walk around my ship. Oh my goodness, a hole. So I'm now sat back at my desk, and so yes, room scale and chair scale tracking there, little test, and it worked very well, of course, as you might expect. The Vive sensors are excellent. I have noticed a bit of a problem with the camera here. If you have it set to 60 Hertz, 60 FPS, or whatever you want to call it, it can cause tracking issues with the controllers. Very odd. And in fact with the headset. I dropped it down to 30, and since then I haven't had any tracking issues. When you put the Rift on, it senses when it's on your head. It's got a little sensor in there, and it turns on the screen. So you don't have to worry about the screen always being on. If you forget to turn off Steam VR and you take your Vive off, the screen on the Vive will stay on, which is a little bit disappointing. So tracking, again, super accurate. For a cockpit-based experience like this, it really is just spot on. Tracking works exceptionally well. Now, just for a bit of fun, I've pointed my Oculus tracker pointing down the room. Now, I'm very carefully going to walk as far as I can until the tracking gets lost. When the tracking's lost, I'm going to measure how far away from the tracker I got, assuming I don't reach the extent of the cable. Let's give this a go. So again, I have to be super careful here, not to bang my head, because there's no chaperone system here, so I'm just going to put my hands in the air, like I just don't care. Here is perfect. No problems at this point. So I'm going to measure, and that is exactly 7 feet or 2 meters 20 away from the camera. But presumably with two cameras you get essentially that twice. So presumably about 4 meters 50, 4 meters 40. This is a perfectly watchable film. This was me playing Hover Junkets the other night. It's clear, it's smooth, it works exceptionally well. I could easily sit here and watch a movie. The only downside with watching a movie wearing the Vive is it's very heavy. A lot of pressure on the bridge of the nose, on the cheeks, and quite uncomfortable. I'm watching it this time using my Rift. This is definitely more watchable, without a doubt. And mainly because of the fact that the pixel kind of latency, there's no kind of blurring of the image as I look around this screen. It just looks perfectly crisp and sharp, and I could very easily watch a movie on this big screen in front of me. This just sits nicely, and it doesn't hurt your face as much. You don't feel the same pressure on your cheekbones, same pressure on the brow or the bridge of your nose. So yes, for watching movies, the Rift wins hands down, and I'm actually sitting here quite staggered. Now, before I reach my conclusion, here's a weird thing. Vive. It's got an Oculus logo on the back. Weird, eh? Oculus. It's got a Vive logo on the back. How odd's that? Illuminati confirmed. So now I've got to reach a conclusion. I've got to sum up all of those points and come up with something that you want to hear. Well, I think it's important to say that your mileage may vary. It's important to say that the shape of your face, the width of your eyes can make a huge impact on the experience as a whole. But I think I've gone through in enough detail to accurately summarise and conclude on each of those sections. So when I talked about installation, Vive installation is more complex. When you get the cables out the box, it's quite a daunting task. It's quite a minor point, I think, for most people who are into VR, but screwing trackers into walls may put some people off. I mean, as far as accessibility is concerned, the Oculus is quite easy to plug in. You just plug in and it just works. And Oculus Store works rather flawlessly as well. So Oculus has the edge on getting up and running. Now, from a quality point of view, Oculus has the edge there as well. I think they're both excellent in quality. They're both very solid and very well made, very good design. I have concerns around HTC, around the quality control out of the factory because of the dead pixel that's in my left eye, and because my research on the internet has shown that people are actually reporting this problem to HTC. There seems to be a lot more reports. Again, I don't know exactly how many are out there in the field being evaluated, so it's difficult to say whether Oculus will have a similar issue. HTC need to do something about this though. The Rift feels like a high quality premium item. HTC Vive said they were pricing a premium item. Well, they've priced not quite premium item in my opinion. Comfort. The Vive is heavy. It hurts your cheeks. It pulls a little bit. That said, once it's on, once it's adjusted, it doesn't need any further adjustment. And it's actually pretty comfortable despite the weight. It sits pretty snugly and you don't get any light leaking at all, unlike with the Oculus. Now the Oculus is more solid on the face. It's less forgiving. But once you get it in the right place, it's so light that it just sits there and you can wear it for hours without any impact. And again, this is a bit of a contentious one. For me, on the comfort side, it's very hard to say which one I preferred, but I think I come down on the side of Oculus just simply because of the length of time I could wear it would be a great deal longer. On image quality, in short, Oculus wins hands down on image quality. I've heard people say that it's marginal and, you know, the Oculus might be a bit sharper. It really isn't marginal in my opinion. Despite the God rays being considerably worse in the Rift, and the Vive seems to sort of feel too bright, too much gain, too blurry, and Oculus clearly takes the lead in that quality area. So how do I conclude based on all of those points? If I'm looking at only the HMDs, I'm looking at the quality, the build, the feel, the comfort, the visuals. The Oculus Rift wins hands down. Hands down. I can't believe people would look at these two and decide the Vive is a better HMD. It just simply isn't. But here's the problem. They're two different things. They're two different things with entirely different applications right now. Okay? I can't compare these things. I can't even talk about these things because I don't have an Oculus Touch. Now, a lot of reviewers are talking about the Oculus Rift and the Vive and factoring in this. If you factor in this, Vive wins because this is fun. Now here's the problem. As much as I said I love the Oculus Rift, and the Rift is a fantastic device, you can guess what I'm going to be using more over the next few weeks. It's the Vive. The Vive's going to stay plugged in, and the Rift is going to stay on the shelf. It's going to stay plugged in, the Vive, until I get bored of all the little games. The games for the Vive are excellent. They're fun. They use these controllers very well. But I'm telling you this, you go to them once or twice and never again. Job Simulator, fantastic, funny. It's like watching a movie. You wouldn't play it twice necessarily. You'd use it to demo VR to people. The little mini games where you're playing golf and you're playing tennis, they're fun, but you don't necessarily go back to them every single time. The Oculus is different. The Oculus at the moment is really built for a seated experience and is focusing on the quality and the visuals. Seated experiences like P-Cars, like Elite, I'm always going to pick up the Oculus to play those. Anything that involves room scale, I'm always going to pick up the Vive. They're two completely different things, and they each win in those areas currently. Now, the question is, when Oculus Touch comes out, does that mean that the whole package considered, the Rift is ahead? Well, that depends. That depends very much on the developers. It depends very much on the VR community. It depends if people buy these things. Will the Oculus Touch become vaporware? I hope not. The Vive, as much as I love it and I enjoy the room scale experience and I absolutely use it to demo to people how joyous it is to use VR, I am a little bit disappointed with the quality. I'm seriously considering returning it for a refund. Just simply because of the pixel issues. In short, if you've bought a Vive, you're going to love it. You're going to be over the moon. It doesn't matter what I think about the Oculus Rift. You're going to love the Vive. It's better than the DK2. If you bought an Oculus Rift, you're going to love it. You're going to probably miss the fact that everyone's jumping around shooting guns at aliens. You're going to think, ooh, I wish I was having a go on that. Well, don't worry, your time will come. Oculus Touch will be out soon. Both are good. I can't really say don't buy one and buy the other. I think when you look at the detail of the HMDs, you really focus on which one is the better quality device. The Oculus Rift comes ahead, but it's marginal. Let's be honest. So anyway, that's my opinions. And if you're writing in the comments now, oh, but you're called UKRifter, you're bound to say this. I'm not. Okay, I kind of wanted the Vive to win, to be honest, because I wanted it to be a good all-rounder. I wanted it to be good at room scale, and I wanted it to be an excellent visual experience as well, but unfortunately, it just isn't. That said, as I'll say it one more time, that's staying plugged in. The Vive is staying plugged in. I'm going to really enjoy these room scale experiences, and yeah, it's going to get a lot of use. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. I'm just going to mention a couple of things that I omitted from that review. It's been 5 months. I've had these things for 5 months. I've been playing with them a lot. I'd say that the HTC Vive is actually a lot more comfortable since I've upgraded the foam padding and got a VR cover, basically to make it more comfortable to wear. And so that comfort aspect has been sort of removed a little bit. It's still not terribly comfortable, but with the right adjustment it actually doesn't feel too bad. I think I maybe laboured that point a little bit too much in my review. Also, the HTC Vive, I didn't mention that it does have the ability to adjust, pull out, and effectively get glasses behind. So if you're a spectacle wearer, then the HTC Vive is a much better option for you, because the Oculus doesn't have that. You can do a 3D print for the Oculus Rift, which allows you to sort of slot something in which you can put custom lenses into, but it's a bit of a faff, to be honest. So HTC Vive, that is certainly a positive point. I'd say that the games, it's taken 5 months now before we've actually started to see some games come out for HTC Vive that have made me actually pick it up a lot more. You're probably wondering, over the last 5 months, what have I been using? Generally speaking, over the 5 months, I've been using the Rift a lot more, mainly because I've been playing things like Project Cars, Assetto Corsa, and Elite Dangerous. And for those things, I wouldn't think of picking up the HTC Vive. Now, does that mean my HTC Vive doesn't get used? Of course, it gets used all the time. My children absolutely love it. They're always picking it up and playing it, playing Job Simulator, playing those of the wave shooter type games, Space Pirate Trainer, all those kind of go-to games. But they're such kind of, you know, they're casual games. They're not great. They're not AAA titles. And we're just starting to see the beginnings of this coming in after 5 months. I'm talking about things like Onward. Onward is just a fantastic game, and it just makes the HTC Vive so enjoyable to use. It's multiplayer, it's room scale, you're using your controllers to their full ability, and it's great to see that. So now, you know, the games are actually starting to make the HTC Vive a much more attractive proposition, and just in time, because round the corner we've got Oculus Touch coming out, so the playing field will be a great deal more level at that point. Anyway, my conclusion is basically the same, sort of. If you enjoy cockpit games, you like Assetto Corsa, you like Project Cars, you like Elite Dangerous, if that's the sort of thing that appeals to you, then definitely buy the Rift. I'm standing by this. It is a higher quality device. The Vive is brighter, it's slightly more uncomfortable, but for the room scale games, it really is in a class of its own at this time. And I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to labour it too much. Of course, interested to hear your comments, and jump on the forum.vrspies.com if you want to have a bit more of a detailed chat with me. Cheers, bye bye.